the president to come and say, I see you, I hear you, I feel your pain.
The conversation we had today with the AAPI leaders and that we're hearing all across the country is that hate and violence often hide in plain sight. It's often met with silence. That's been true throughout our history. But that has to change. We have to speak out. We have to act.
And Amara, what was your reaction listening to President Biden?
Well, Pam, this really is a moment for Asian Americans in America. I can't overstate how much it means, I think, for the Asian American community to see the president and the vice president, who is half Asian, to physically come to Atlanta, to listen to the concerns and to feel the pain of the Asian American community. Just that acknowledgement, because we are a community that has felt invisible for so long, and for the president to come and say, I see you, I hear you, I feel your pain. And to elevate this issue, I think a lot of us, it's a cathartic moment, because this first step is to be seen and to be heard. And the fact that you had the vice president also acknowledging the history of racism against Asians that we have faced since the day that the Chinese immigrants started immigrating to the United States. I know that President Biden, I know the leaders there that I spoke with wanted the president and the vice president to call on the investigators to investigate these shootings as a hate crime. They didn't get that, but I think what they did get was a lot of comfort to know that we are being heard. You know, there was also that mention from the vice president about Asians feeling like the perpetual foreigner. That is so true, because when you are a foreigner in your own country, you are dehumanized, you're not taken seriously. If there is a crime committed against you or your community, even law enforcement might dismiss it as the perpetrator as just having a bad day. So when you have the president and the vice president elevating this issue, putting in the spotlight and saying, I hear you, let's find a way to protect the Asian American community. You've been hurting for very long, not just this past year because of COVID-19.
This is obviously so deeply personal for you, Amara. Just tell us, if you would, what your personal experiences have been and why this moment for you personally is just so touching.
Well, Pam, you know, I've been doing a lot of soul searching, and I want a lot of people to understand why there was such a visceral reaction when Captain Jay Baker of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department said that the suspect was, you know, just having a bad day. And that's because for so long, Asian Americans have felt like they have not been taken seriously. They have not been seen. And I was thinking about, well, when did I feel this way? And, you know, I grew up in a community where we were probably the only Asian family on our street. And I remember, you know, cars driving by. We lived on a busy street. I'd hear racial slurs. I remember my father's car, our family car, getting vandalized a couple times, and once someone had thrown a hammer into the window of my dad's car. And so when you couple these incidents, you bring them together, you know, of course, you're automatically thinking, okay, these are racially motivated, people just don't want us here because we're Asian. And I remember we called the police, filed a police report. I was translating for my parents, and just the attitude of the police officer, he didn't really seem to understand the fear that kind of attack instilled in my family, and the pain that we were reliving over and over, because, you know, it's not the first time that we've been told to go back to our country or being called, you know, China virus. And so this is our experience, this is our reality, and it's relieving. I think we're breathing a huge sigh of relief to know that people are finally listening and hearing our stories and caring about it, and even trying to put in legislation, pushing for legislation, you know, that would stiffen penalties for hate crimes related to COVID-19.